Hello, historians. So, welcome back. This is the second half of the North and Mesoamerican empires section of this unit. So, we're going to go ahead and get started to talk about the Mesoamerican empires. So, here we go. All right, so now we come to question number 10, the Olmec. So, the Olmecs existed in what is now called Veracruz. Their main city was in San Lorenzo in Tenochtitlan, okay? And that's in Mexico, all right? They were one of the first known civilizations or empires in the Mesoamerican empires, okay? And they were quite artistic, very intelligent. You may see those carved giant stone heads with the large noses and the lips, and it's possible that they revere their rulers. So when you're describing the culture and religion and the society of the Olmecs, this is what you're looking for, okay? Those carved giant stone, those are basically what the Olmecs are known for. They wore helmets during their ball games because they did play games and they played games to the death. Okay, it was not for play. They were the first civilization in the Western Hemisphere. In the Western Hemisphere, not in the East, but in the West, in the Mesoamericans, to build step pyramids. Okay, so just like the pyramids in Egypt, they built pyramids in the Western Hemisphere, but they were built as steps. Okay. And also created a calendar, but they did not have a writing system as yet. But they did have a calendar. And the other empire that we're going to talk about next, they actually adapted their calendar system from the Olmecs, okay, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But here you see an example of the Olmec heads and how large these stones were. They were very heavy and large, okay. All right, so here we go. This is the political society or the cultural society that I was talking about. The Empire of the Maya, okay? And the Maya came about, as you see here, from 300 BCE. That is quite early, okay? That is particularly earlier than Ghana existed. So they were existing before Ghana, okay? Because Ghana existed about 500 BCE. That's when the start of that empire came about. It was built around a central pyramid, and they were composed of city-states, okay? And those city-states, it's just like having counties, per se. Those city-states would war with each other a lot, okay? Townspeople and peasants, they often worked as artisans and officials and merchants in these city-states, and then the nobles and scribes were supported by these rulers, okay? So, and the nobles and scribes were living in that area of the rulers, in that city-state with the rulers, whereas the peasants and townspeople lived in other areas of the city-states, okay? So that was the Maya. And we'll get more into the Maya in terms of their social structure and your grapes analysis chart. All right, so also this is 12 and 13. So the religious practice of the Maya, they did believe in a supreme god, Itzama or the lizard house, right? They rank their gods in a certain order and of importance, and they also practice human sacrifice because they believed that their god, it was necessary for their god to have human blood in order for them to be happy. They also had a developed writing system, which was called hieroglyphs or pictures. And they also borrowed this number, the number 0, it actually comes from the Mesoamerican tribes, and they borrowed the number 0 from the Olmec. Okay. So it's the Olmec tribe that created the number 0, but they took that number, that symbol of 0, and they used it in their culture as well. You probably have seen so many movies about the Mayan calendar, like 2020, I think it was 2021 or something like that, and it was all based on the Mayan calendar. And it was based on cycles of creation and destruction. And of course, if you saw these Hollywood movies saying that, oh, okay, I think it was 2001 or something like that, then there should be the destruction of the world according to the Mayan calendar, right? Because they figured that, especially during that time, their accuracy was so well put together, was so on point. However, of course, we're still here, right? But their calendar was highly accurate, and they did borrow a lot of that from the Olmecs. Okay, as you see here, this was an example of their culture and their calendar system and their number system. So this was the symbol for 0, right? All right, awesome. So next you have the Tolok. The Tolok people, and this is your answer for number 18. The Tolok people were warlike, okay? And the skill that the Toloks brought to Meso America was metalworking, okay? They were able to really use these metals like gold, silver, and copper and really form weaponry and so forth in order to fight among their different groups, okay? However, they declined because of that fighting amongst these city-states and so forth, okay? All right, and that would be their answer for number 15. The Aztecs, awesome. The Aztec Empire came around the 1200s to the 1400s, so they were a bit later than the Maya and the Tolok, okay? They established the city of Tenochtitlan, okay? It was in a central state, and this is the political system here that we're talking about for number 16. It wasn't a central state, but they did have semi-independent territories, and then they had lords or chieftains that governed those independent territories, okay? And the ruler would support the Aztec ruler would support these other local lords or chieftains in return of goods and money and so forth, okay? So that's the political system. So right here, as we talked about a semi-independent territory, the Aztec ruler supporting those local chieftains or lords, that's the political system for number 16, okay? All right. For number 17, the nobility also held certain positions in government. As you see here, males would either become warriors or government officials or priests. Now, here's something else. Boys had to be trained to hold that position. So that was their thing. That was their social structure. The boys would train to either hold a government position, become a warrior, or become a priest, okay? Whereas the young women were trained to take care of the household or do the farming and so forth, or handle the marketplace, because they did have a very large marketplace area, okay? And the monarchy, as you see here, they claimed lineage from the gods. So they actually believed that their king or their ruler, right, was directly descendant or directly related to the gods and held all of the power, okay? The commoners, the slaves, and indentured workers made the majority of that population. So that's your social structure, okay? So you had the monarchy, the king, who's directly in contact with God and related to God. Then you had the nobility, and then you had the commoners, the slaves, and the indentured workers. So that's kind of that social structure if you wanted to see it in like a pyramid form. Okay. All right. The religion of the Aztecs, they were polytheistic. They had a supreme god who represented all of the forces of the heavens and the earth and so forth. Their religion was based on the struggle of good and evil, so very similar to what you would see in European and African societies, right? However, they use human sacrifices as well to appease the gods. Okay, so they also felt that human blood was necessary to make the gods happy. All right, so that is it for question that was number 18. And that is it for this particular part of your notes. You have one more, which is 3.4, and that will get into the South American empires. Okay, I'll see you soon. Have a great day.